is here. The Scotland 2024 Six Nations squad has been announced. I know the Welsh one has as well. I'll get to that later with all the controversies and stuff I know you want me to get to within that one. I will cover that later. But for now, we're going to cover the Scotland one first. And a few call-ups that maybe we didn't expect. A few people missed out that we might expect. But overall, I'm quite happy with this squad. Let's get right into it. So, starting us off, we're going to cover the loose heads first. Number 1, 3 loose heads. Again, quite a healthy amount. 1, Pierre Schumann. Pretty simple. Schumann, best prop in Scotland by my own. I'd argue he's probably top 10 in the world at the minute. Then we've got Alec Hepburn, who I believe is from Exeter. And I believe he's Aussie born, but qualifies with Scotland through his grandparents. So, yeah, interesting there. Not someone that I've really come across before, but I heard rumours that he was being spoken to, but I still don't really know. It'd be nice to see what he's about. And then the third number 1 option is Jamie Batty from Glasgow. Again, fair enough, he's been solid for Glasgow all season. 2, you've got George Turner from Glasgow, solid hooker, good old reliable, has been Scotland number 1 for a while. We've got Ewan Ashman from Edinburgh, again, just moved to Edinburgh, just coming onto the scene, but in the last few years have done pretty good for both Scotland and since he came to Edinburgh over the summer, pretty well. And third, the try machine himself. If you've watched this channel before, you know how much I love this man. Johnny flippin' Matthews gets his Scotland call up. I did say he would. It was no brainer, to be honest with you. Beat Damien Penault's try strike record. Mental from him. And no, he hasn't already scored. He didn't play. Never mind. I would say he's already scored this year, but he hasn't because he's not played yet. And then for the tight head prop, Xander Fagerson, Glasgow, fair enough. Good old reliable prop there for Glasgow. Mr. Faithful, yes, his discipline can be shaky, but he's a good carrier, good in the scrums. We have got Will Hurd, who I believe is another Aussie born with another Scottish grandparent, and I believe he plays for Leicester. So, again, not a player that I've come across before. A player, again, who I knew we were speaking to after my predictions, of course. But, yeah, again, I'd like to see what he's all about. And then third, for that number 3, now, again, the order doesn't mean anything. I've just listed them down. Just because I've put them 1, 2, 3 doesn't mean that's the order they'll be in. Just is the scrum father himself, the man who will refuse to retire at the grand old age of 37, 38, and that is, of course, WP Nell from Edinburgh. Good old reliable. We know what we're going to get. One of the best scrummagers around. Yeah. So there's your front row. Moving on to the second row, or the locks, depending on what you want to call them. Scott Cummings, again, has been injured on and off recently. Used to be a big choice. As I said, I want to see lots of Glasgow in the front 5, definitely, for that maul that Glasgow has been killer at recently. We've got Grant Gilchrist, Edinburgh, good old reliable, captain of Edinburgh, along with Velicott, who's not in this squad. But again, a leadership option. I don't think he's captain. They've not listed the captain, but I think it's still Richie. Yeah, Gilco, you know what you're going to get. Good old reliable, high tackle number, high ruck number, all that good stuff. Good hard carrier, solid in the lineouts. Next up, Richie Gray, all 12'7" of him. Yeah, again, as I said, Glasgow impact on that tight 5 I want to see. Yeah, all solid all round. Tackle count really high. His brother's not in due to injury, which I thought he was back from when I made the predictions. Obviously not. Next up, Sam Skinner, a player who's just back from injury for Edinburgh. Someone who I didn't think would be available, but he played solid against Gloucester for Edinburgh the weekend. You know, he'll hopefully get another run out against Scarlets for Edinburgh this weekend, and hopefully again can build on that. But he looked solid. We'll have to see him again this weekend and see if he's back or if he's needing a bit of time to adapt. And then the last lock, who I think has had a great season for Edinburgh coming in, and that's Glenn Young. I think he's been really good this season. Yeah, really solid from him. Great to see him in the team. We'll move on to the flankers. And one massive notable miss. I'll get to that in a minute. But first up, Luke Crosby. I know he's injured at the minute, but again, has been a very, very solid player for Edinburgh and Scotland of recent. Really good to see him in the squad. I had my doubts when he got injured, but obviously it's not that bad, and he will at least see a couple of minutes, hopefully. Next up, who I believe is captain, and as I said, should be captain, and that's Jamie Ritchie. Ritchie, yeah, good old faithful Ritchie. I know not everyone's happy with him as captain, but I have no problem with him, to be honest with you. He's still fairly young. He's only like 25, 24, 25, 26, you know. I believe he's only 24, 25, 26. So, still got a good few years left in him. Good to see. Love a bit of Jamie Ritchie. Next up, Rory Darge, someone who I missed out my prediction because I thought he'd be injured, but reports are that he's back for Glasgow. Same with Jack Dempsey, same with Kyle Stein. I won't spoil anything with them, but yeah, great to see him back. I think he's taken that 7 jersey of Hamish Watson, whose spoil is not in the squad. That is right, Hamish Watson is not in the Scotland squad. I know he's been shaky after coming back from injury, but I thought he'd still be in it because he is still a very good player. And again, has done solid for Edinburgh in the last couple of games. The next flanker, though, I want to talk about is Andy Christie. I almost said Ryan Christie, that's a footballer. Andy Christie, Saracens. I said he's been outstanding this season. He needs to be in the squad, and he is. Great to see him in there. And last, but definitely not least, Josh Bayliss. Maybe a bit of an outside pick, you know, notable from him, that try against Italy to secure the game just before the World Cup. Yeah, it's good to see him in the squad, you know, Bath. Good to see a few Bath players in here. You know, I like it when they have little pockets of players who are from the same team who know each other quite well. And that will come apparent later on. But good to see him in. As we move on to the number 8s. Now, there is 2 number 8s. We were worried there'd only be 1. But first up, the man, I wasn't sure if he'd be injured or not. Apparently, he's going to be fit for Glasgow this weekend. He'll play for Glasgow. And that's Jack Dempsey. Really, really good to see him back in the squad. I had my doubts about him a year or so ago, but he's come really good. I love his hard carrying. He always seems to make a couple of metres per carry. His tackle amount, his rucking is supreme. Really good to see from him. And then the other number 8 is big bad Matt Fagerson. Again, the work rate on this man, the tackle rate on this man is insane. Yeah, just, you know, he's had man in the match against England for the last 3 games in a row against them, and for good reason. He's always in there, he's doing all the tough stuff, winning the ball in rucks, turning it over, big tackles. It's what you want to see. So there is your forwards. So I'll just run through from 1 to 8. Schumann, Hepburn, Batty, Ashman, Matthews, Turner, Fagerson, Hurd, Nell, Cummings, Gilco, Gray, Skinner, Young, Crosby, Ritchie, Darge, Christie, Bayliss, Dempsey and Fagerson. We shall move on to the backs now. I know we're 9 minutes in, but this is a huge video. This deserves a long video. So, going on to the scrum halves, we have the 3 I predicted. I threw Vellacott in here as well, but unfortunately he didn't get in. I still really want to see him in a Scotland jersey. I know he's had a couple of caps, but he has been solid for a few years now. But those 3 are Horn, Price and White. Those 3 pick themselves, to be honest with you. Glasgow, Edinburgh, Toulon, I believe White's at. Yeah, great to see. White's been first choice for Scotland for a while, a couple of years. Horn's been incredible for Glasgow, and Price, since he moved to Edinburgh this year, has been really good as well. Next up, on to the fly halves. There's the 3 fly halves I said. First up, really unsurprisingly, is of course the Maverick himself, the best 10 in the world. I don't care what you say, Finn Russell. Yeah, he just is. He's the best 10 around. Don't even pretend. Finn Russell, easy. Next up, Ben Healy. yeah, has been solid since he's gone to Edinburgh. Again, his kicking's gone a bit iffy, but, you know, I think he's still a solid 10. And then Adam Hastings, who has been in and out of the squad for a while, but when he turns up, he's really good. He was solid for Gloucester for a while now, the past while, so good to see him back. Moving on to the centres. First up, the Tongan thrasher, Sione Tuipulotu. Great to see him in the squad. Absolutely love him. Him and his centre partner from last year, Hugh Jones, who I don't know if they'll do that combination again. I'd like to see another one, but it's good to see Tuipulotu in the squad. Next up, Stafford McDowell, Glasgow. I believe he's played captain for Glasgow. Like, this is it. The amount of leaders in this dressing room is great to see. You know, there's 5 or 6 players who, if you gave the captain, they wouldn't crap themselves. I know Jamie Ritchie's the normal captain, but it's good. You need more dressing room leaders. Stafford McDowell, I believe he's played captain of Glasgow. Again, a solid centre, hard crash ball. Great to see. Next up, Cam Redpath. Yes, completely agree. I think him and Tuipulotu should be the starting centres. Redpath and Russell have set the Premiership and Europe alight at Bath since Russell moved there. Great to see those two working together. I want to see them together at Scotland. Hopefully they can recreate that flair and that mad dash for Scotland. Next up, Rory Hutchinson. Great to see him back in the squad. You know, had a bit of a shaky time. I believe he went from Edinburgh to Newcastle, and then went from Newcastle to Northampton, where he's back playing well for Northampton. Really good to see from him. Yeah. And then last but definitely not least, Hugh Jones. Yeah, Hugh Jones speaks for himself. Great player, great runner, can score a try from anything. What I also like about Jones is that he can play centre, winger and fullback, so I wouldn't be surprised if he's used more as a utility back bench option, so he can come on and do a job. Say, I don't know, the fullback gets injured, he can come on and fill those boots for 20 minutes, half an hour if needed. As we next move to the wingers, and we'll just get the two out of the way at the first. Two of the players who I think are two of the best wingers in the world. Darcy Graham and Duhan van der Merwe. They speak for themselves. Graham had been injured since the World Cup, hasn't quite got going since. He's played a few games for Edinburgh, but I believe he will come back and be his good old self. Van der Merwe is still kicking, still scoring for fun. Scored an 80-metre try just a couple of weeks ago against Glasgow. Great to see. Next up, another player who I said I wanted to see in the squad, just moved to Glasgow, but really good to see, and that's Kyle Rowe. Scored against Exeter at the weekend. His strike rate this season has actually been pretty good. Yeah, what you want from a winger. Can run pretty well, can kick pretty well, good chase on him. Then we have got Reid, Aaron Reid, who is a winger from Sale Sharks, quite a young winger. I believe he's England under 20s. Yeah, from Sale Sharks. So an interesting decision there. Not someone who I'd really picked up on, but again, you know, good to see him in the squad. Hopefully he can do good. Don't know much about him. And then last but not least, Kyle Steyn. I wasn't sure if he'd make the squad because he's injured, but similarly to Dempsey, apparently he's fit and may well play for Glasgow at the weekend. Good to see him in. Good old faithful Kyle Steyn. Yeah, can't go wrong with him. And then we'll move on to the 15s. First 15, Blair Kinghorn. Easy, Blair Kinghorn. You know, moved from Edinburgh to Toulouse back, I think, start of December. And a few of us were a bit worried about how he'd cope there, but so far in the last month or two has done incredible. He's linked up with some of the best players in the world like Ramos and Dupont and has played incredible for them. And then a bit of a shock call-up, but I'm glad he's in, and that's Harry Patterson, the young fullback from Edinburgh. Yeah, he's done well. You know, he's filled up roles. You can't really go wrong with him. He looks to be a solid young player. good to see him in. Hopefully get some minutes for Scotland. So there is your backs, who are Horn, Price, White, Russell, Healy, Hastings, Tuipulotu, McDowell, Redpath, Hutchinson, Jones, Graham, Van der Merwe, Rowe, Reid, Steyn, Kinghorn and Patterson. There is your Scotland Six Nations 2024 squad. Thank you very much for watching. The Welsh one will be out soon and I will cover everything to do with that. I know you're waiting. But yeah, thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed, make sure to like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I shall see you absolute legends later. Come on, Scotland!